All right, so we're back here on another Overreaction Monday. Once again, we're going to recap Week 17 in the NFL season, the penultimate week. Now we got Week 18, coming up. So we got the guys in. What's going on, Rob?
Another Monday, our second to last, I believe, of the season, of the regular
Yep,
season at least.
penultimate.
I'm
Yep,
excited to be here.
yep. What's going on, Mo?
Yo, it was good. I mean, it's not a victory Monday for me, but
Mm.
it is what it is. My team still has at least two more games at the very least be able to go in playoffs. I guess you always got to find a positive in every negative, but definitely was a very storyline week 17, which
Yeah,
any other year would be the last week of the regular season. But now that we got 17 games, we got one more week left of football
right.
for everybody.
Yeah, for everybody, unfortunately. Um, yeah. So fellas, we got to go into week 17. So I want to get you guys first. Your biggest winner in week 17. I'm gonna go with you first. Mo, what you got?
So I'm gonna go the biggest winner, and I don't know because there were a few winners, but I'm gonna say Green Bay. I'm gonna say Green Bay. To my knowledge, with looking it up, they locked up the one seed. They're gonna get the bye week, and they get the home game in January against warm weather teams more than likely. Whether it's what we would assume is the Bucks, the Rams, the Cowboys, the Cardinals. Uh, we don't really see. I don't really see Philly or San Francisco beating one of those teams. So I would say the Bucks, the Rams, the Cowboys, or the Cardinals. And you get in the frozen tundra. We saw how cold the game was last night. In Minnesota against Minnesota, it could be snowing. You have no idea. And so I think for them to lock that up was very important, especially because they've been pretty much the best team consistently all year. So I'm gonna go Green Bay. I'm gonna give them their credit, not for the win last night, just the overall. Like going into next week, they may rest some starters, maybe not the whole game. I know a lot of people aren't huge on doing the whole game, but typically first half, depending on the way it goes, they'll sit them a lot. At least not play in the fourth quarter. I think they play Detroit or Chicago anyway next week, so they don't really have a tough matchup for them. The game could be over very early. Allow Rodgers to get prepared, sit. They have a bye week anyway, so I got to give them credit for locking up the one seed. And essentially saying, hey, you're gonna have to go through Green Bay to get to the Super Bowl this year. And I think that could ultimately, with the way certain teams aren't healthy, certain teams haven't played consistent. Rams, Bucks, Bucks are injured. Rams and Cowboys haven't played consistent football to where you really trust them. Their quarterbacks have still, you don't necessarily trust Matt Stafford going in. I don't think you really trust Dak. He hasn't given you reason to trust him. We know that the Cardinals were trending downwards, got a good victory against the Cowboys, so we don't fully trust them either. So to be probably matching up against teams that you don't trust in the playoffs, I think this is a perfect spot for Green Bay to get to the NFC Championship game again and possibly get over that hump and get back to the Super Bowl, since it haven't been 10 years. It's been 10 years since Aaron Rodgers has gotten to the Super
Yeah.
Bowl. So I think they set themselves up in the best predicament possible, that it seems like you're going to have to come to Lambeau and beat us in January to get to the Super Bowl. So I'm going to go Green Bay with everything. But there were a lot of winners, though. I know where hit them because there was a lot of winners.
Yeah, big time. Yep. Yeah, it was like we had a lot of big winners. Rob, who's your biggest winner this week?
So I got two. First, I'm going to start with Zach Taylor and the Cincinnati Bengals. They were able to outplay Patrick Mahomes. It's a very close, very good game. And the way Joe Burrow has played the last 2 weeks, throwing for nearly 1,000 yards. I think he's thrown 10 touchdowns,
Yeah.
something like that, and no interceptions. It shows that the people who truly believed in him, like they're looking to be right so far at this point in his career, and to lock up an NFC North title with still a week to play. It's going to be interesting to see what Zach Taylor does as far as his starters go, because they need a couple pieces to fall, but they have a chance at the one seed. Depending on how believable you think it is, they would obviously need Kansas City to lose, and obviously Tennessee to lose to Houston, which they've done once already. So it depends on how Zach Taylor's going to want to play it. And Joe Burrow just looking like a top five quarterback in the league right now. My second one is Mike Tomlin. You know, we talked about it before we went live, and the whole Antonio Brown thing, what's going on with him, you know, whether it's, you know, I think probably about 10, 15 years ago, we would have just chalked this up to he's a prima donna, he's a diva, he's a wide receiver, he got paid, and that's all he cared about. But, you know, the more that CTE is more relevant now, especially with football players, and we've been able to see how certain people who inevitably had it, which we can't look at it until after they're dead, obviously. But just the erratic behavior from him, you know, all signs point to that. I think everybody pretty much, you know, most reasonable people assume that it's a CTE related thing. But the fact that Mike Tomlin was able to just to part ways with him for a third and a fifth, basically nothing for the level of talent that he was playing at that time. To be able to distance himself from that, because as good of a coach as Mike Tomlin is, I don't know if he would have been able to handle Antonio Brown right now. So those are my two big winners.
Yeah, big time. Definitely huge shout out to our guy Gabe. Definitely the biggest winner, Cincinnati Bengals, with that win over the Chiefs. I agree with you too as far as the biggest winner, obviously. You know, Cincinnati over Kansas City. We talked about it on See You Sunday, where we looked at the Cincinnati team as somewhat of I call them the poor man's Kansas City Chiefs. Stu called them the great value version of the of the Kansas City Chiefs. But whatever they did, they persevered. They were down 21-7 in the second quarter, so they came back and, like you saying, Rob, pretty much Joe Burrow, another spectacular performance. 466 yards, 4 touchdowns. Jamar Chase, I mean, he just went off 266 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he continued week in, week out. Really make me eat my words about them getting Penei Sewell versus Jamar Chase, and you see how, and I can admit, hey, I was definitely wrong on that one. That's probably one of the most ice cold takes of 2021 for me
No,
personally.
I wouldn't say it was an ice cold take. The thing was, we knew Jamar Chase was going to be a phenomenal talent. We all pretty much agreed with that. Just the way that team was
Yes.
built at the time, if you go back and look at the draft night that we did, we were all surprised and upset that they took Jamar Chase over.
It was the fact that Joe Burrow got hurt is why everybody felt so.
Correct.
It wasn't that Jamar Chase. Nobody knocked his talent. Was like he doesn't deserve to be top 5. It was the fact that your investment, and we've all said it. You know, I was high on Jamar Chase, probably a lot higher than some other people, but I like the fit. But then at the same time, I'm like, do you choose what the wishes of Joe Burrow, or do you choose as an organization to protect your investment coming off of what was luckily not a career-ending knee injury? That's why everybody was so big on Sewell.
Absolutely. But we're not wrong. But you look at now how dynamic that pass offense is now. When because to a point where who you gonna double? Who you gonna put Chase? You gonna put 2 on Chase, or you put 2 on Higgins, or you can put 2 on Boyd. You're not gonna do that. It's gonna be a week in, week out. Choose your poisoning.
But a fun is Joe Burrow has been sacked 47 times this year.
Granted,
PFF has rated the Bengals as one of the 5 worst offensive lines in football. So to the people that like you love Jamar Chase, I mean, I think he goes to be the biggest winner because I guess he's anybody who doubted that was a bad pick or whatever, or stood so strong on Sewell. He's proved that, hey, this was just a greater pick than anybody. This year, I've been the best offensive player, regardless of position. I've impacted my team more than any other quarterback has, more than any other running back, any other receiver. He's been the best player on the offensive side of the ball in the draft. But if anybody who still pitches Sewell, they still have one of the worst offensive line. Joe Burrow's like one of the 5 most sacked quarterbacks this year. So there is still some, had they went Sewell, they might not have lit it up as much because Chase has won them about 3 games this year. 3 to 4 games this year based on his performances alone. But you still go to think like the way Sewell has played in Detroit, ain't nobody, people haven't gotten to Jared Goff because of him this year. So there's also a point in that. We don't watch offensive linemen. We don't care about the performance of the offensive linemen. We allow the former O linemen that they give us the stats and make us focus on those guys. But overall, You don't watch the Detroit game and be like, man, Penny Sewell, I don't even remember somebody getting a sack on him. Like, you don't even necessarily think about that, especially when Amon St. Brown's playing amazing. Like, that's who you focus on. We focus on the skill positions. We kind of forget offensively in the trenches anyway. So, but Jamar Chase has played absolutely amazing, and he outdid his former teammate and his homeboy as a rookie.
Yeah.
Right. And that's my biggest thing where, because to me, I thought he was going to be more of a complimentary at that point compared to a Sewell. But what he has done as far as his production, it's just you can't sniff at it. So that's one of the things where, yes, it's a catch-22 with it. Yeah, you get that, but that's, it just makes that so dynamic to a point where maybe they can get some offensive line help in the offseason or what have you.
Can get it later.
But yeah, you can always get that as well. But like a Jamar Chase doesn't grow on trees as we've seen this year. So his value is it's just off the charts for them. My biggest one has got to be the Las Vegas Raiders. Another one. Another great win. It's funny because it kind of is like deja vu. Like essentially, we know about the death of John Madden last week. They came out and win. Kind of remind me eerily similar to when Al Davis died in 2011. Similar game in nature when they went to Houston and won that football game 25-20. They won this game 23-20. They keep their playoff hopes alive. They're going against probably the most inconsistent team in the NFL at home against the Los Angeles Chargers for game 271. You just look at it from the standpoint of great road win, especially when we thought the Colts was pretty much going to be a shoe-in. We even talked about on CU Sunday where it was a situation where it was a foregone conclusion that they were going to win that game because we thought Las Vegas was going to be just a free-falling team. But what they've done at this point, huge shout-out to Rich Bisaccia, their head coach. He's another one where we talked about yesterday as far as our team having like the longest season. They probably like, look, hold our beer. With so much stuff that's going on with that organization. And then for them to have
another one today or shortly last night, right after the game.
Yeah, you're right. And like you said, and you get to a point here where you have an opportunity to actually win a game and potentially make it to the playoffs. So, definitely huge shout out to the Las Vegas Raiders on their win against the Colts.
Definitely.
What's going on, Kenneth?
Hello, gentlemen. How are you all doing this evening?
Good. So who's your biggest winner this week?
I'm gonna roll with the Saints this week. That's not a football game that I was watching yesterday because 18-10 isn't exactly the
didn't even know they played yesterday.
Sexy game to watch yesterday. It probably was one of the worst games of the day, but they kept their playoff hopes alive. I mean, if they lose that game yesterday, the NFC playoffs, we already know who the 7 teams would be. So the fact that they got that division win, they go into this week, they now get Atlanta. We look at the teams ahead of them. Philly's got Dallas. San Fran's got the Rams. I mean, they've got the most favorable matchup out of the 3 of those. So it's a big win for the Saints. Alvin Kamara actually got going yesterday, which was good to see. So I think the Saints are big winners because they kept their playoffs hopes alive.
Yeah, and they, like you said, they got a favorable matchup. The Falcons, and then because pretty much if they win and San Francisco loses, they're in. And you're looking at
San Fran's got everything, the Rams have everything to play for.
Right, and that's the thing where you'll be on the road in 2 weeks, or you want to be at home, essentially. So, like you said, and who could be the last person standing? It might be the San Francisco 49ers and miraculously another team that kind of come out of nowhere to now, can make the playoffs. And, so week 18 has some implications that's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, it has you make it makes you wonder how certain teams are going to play it. Like my biggest thing, obviously, like Dallas plays on Saturday. If they win in either the Bucs or the Rams, don't think the Bucs will lose to the Panthers. I just want to throw that out. But if the Bucs or the Rams lose, then they move either to the 2 seed or 3 seed because they win the tiebreaker over both of those teams. Crazy they win the tiebreaker over the Bucks, even though the Bucks beat them. But like if the Rams lose and they're tied, the Cowboys win based on conference win percentage. They're 9-2. So they win that tiebreaker. So it makes you wonder, like, is Dallas playing starters the whole game Saturday to really win, or are they just locked in on the 4 seed? Because they can't scoreboard watch and make a decision in the middle of the game of what to do. So essentially, you got to go out there and play Philly as if this game means everything for Dallas, because you could wake up Sunday and it does. So that's something like that, and that starts on Saturday. So that's something that it makes me wonder how certain teams are going to play this, because we all know in that last week of the season, they're chasing something, but they scoreboard watch and they be like, okay, they're up 20. Hey, guys, come on. Let's get ready for the playoffs. But Dallas doesn't have that opportunity. So are they playing for the win? Go to bed Saturday night, go to church Sunday morning, and hope that God blesses them with a Rams loss to the 49ers, who absolutely need it, or the Panthers get lucky and end up beating the Tampa Bay Bucks, which I think is the least likely of the two. But San Francisco could beat the Rams. And if Dallas wins, or they play to win and they end up winning the game, like, they're at least now not the 4 seed. So I think that's something that Dallas.
I think after yesterday, Dallas is 100% playing starters the whole game, because you don't want to see Arizona again. Like, they beat us last year, they beat us this year in Dallas. I mean, then you're playing a team that's confident, knowing that they can go into your building and win, and that's not a situation that you want to be in, especially when you look at the teams below. San Fran, who knows if Jimmy G is going to be back? If not, they get to face Trey Lance. Great opportunity there. Yeah. They could get the Eagles, which would be a divisional game, but I like our chances in a divisional game at home. And then you've got the Saints potentially as the other team you're going up against, Taysom Hill. So when you're looking at who do you want to face, you definitely want to face one of those other 3 teams and not Arizona.
And we all know, and that's another thing too, where I think that makes Philly and Dallas is an interesting game on Saturday, because you guys might play each other the next week. So you don't know, and that's possible. And that's one of the things where I don't want to inject college football in the fray. It could be almost like an Alabama-Georgia thing, where it's almost like, okay, we might get them again. So, it's one of the things where it's so many scenarios in your mind, but actually the anxiety won't be during the game. It'll be more so after the game, after it's all said and done with. So I think I'd rather would deal with that as the chips fall on Sunday and just be chilling versus, like you said, you might be a situation where, hey, let's call the dogs off and, in the middle of the game. And then, so that's funny. I knew y'all was going to get flexed to Saturday. I knew for certain. I knew, and y'all probably going to get that game in 2 weeks in prime time on MLK.
Do we know who wins the tiebreaker between Philly and New Orleans? That's the
Philly's already in. As far as I know, it's
San Francisco's the team that's not.
It's San Fran that has to lose, and if San Fran loses and then you get a Saints win, then the Saints are in. And that's as far as I know. Because I saw Philly fans celebrating yesterday. We playoff down.
The 7th.
The Packers win it, put Philly in. The Packers win
when they put Philly. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. So that
we put them in there, really.
I mean, yeah.
Well, no, the Zebras put them in there.
Get them started. The ref.
I tuned in yesterday. I was watching that game down the stretch. I'm with them.
The officiating was horrible.
I'm with them this week. Like
John Bates.
I really do hate being that person, but
right.
The last 2 games have been atrocious. Like, even in the Dallas game, not to bring it up, but like, your guys' center was literally 10 yards down the field on a pass play. I'm just like, how do you not? Like, you cannot honestly be an NFL referee.
Like we know what the game was going to be, but like, that's still like, how are you missing a call like that?
Philly game was like, it impacted the win and loss the way they officiated. Like, when you see how Dallas won, you'd be like, all right, we'll pick it apart, but we'll let that ride just because, like, there probably weren't enough missed calls to really impact that. But the Philly game was like a win and loss. Yeah. Beating Philly and knocking them out of the playoffs rode on the bad officiating, which I couldn't believe. I was sitting there watching it and not a fan of it, but at the same time, like, let me see. And then it's like, dang, like, I definitely didn't want to see Philly win, like, and benefit from the refs. But, like, what I wanted to have seen Washington benefit from the refs either. Like, do we ever root for each other. Those are tough games to actually watch.
I said it in the chat yesterday. I was a Washington football team fan yesterday, and unfortunately, the Zebras are not in the favorite.
Right? Yeah, he definitely shot us out. Yeah, everybody, John Bates know too. So who was the victim of it, but we'll leave that alone. But yeah, so before we get into our biggest loser, we got to give a huge shout out to the good folks at Built Bar. Head over to builtbar.com, use our promo code off the ball, and you get yourself a 10% off discount. Head over there to builtbar.com, use our promo code off the ball. So, fellas, from the winners, now we got to go to the losers. Mo, who's your biggest loser in week 17 of the NFL season?
All right, so I'm not going to go the route that I said I was going to go. I'm going to just leave him alone. So I'm going to leave him alone. And okay. I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts. They lost to the Raiders in a game they should have won. I think they're locked in the playoffs regardless. I could be wrong. I don't know if they have to – I don't know their situation. But losing that game and not feeling comfortable going into the last week after being hot, right? Like, they were on a win streak. They looked great. Everybody was telling us they're back. And then it's like they got humbled by the Raiders. And with everything, I mean, like you said, with the Raiders, it's been so impressive that with everything going on, they still been winning games and put themselves in a predicament where they could make the playoffs. Yes, they need things to go their way, but who knows? In a season where nothing has gone right for them, maybe it closes out and everything swings the right way for them. And then it's so bad, their rookie, who's probably going to be on the all-rookie team, got a DUI after the game for the Raiders. Like, to cap everybody getting in trouble, from Ruggs to the Gruden situation to just, injuries, everything for the Raiders that could go wrong really went wrong for them. And they still have found a way to stay competitive, to win games. And so with the Colts losing that game, and it's almost like, is it the Colts or is it Carson Wentz? I know he was coming off COVID, but he didn't seem like the answer. And we've kind of they've been riding on the backs of Jonathan Taylor. He played pretty well. I mean, I guess if you're not satisfied with over 100 yards and getting in the end zone, then that shows how great he's played up to this point in the standard. But Carson Wentz can't win them the big games, the important games, and every big game they won have been on the back of Jonathan Taylor. So I guess that's a pitch to his MVP, but it's more like a knock on Carson Wentz because when they got him for cheap, it was almost like they're linking him back with Frank Reich. Some people thought he was the answer. Some people didn't. Stu was pitching that he really thought Carson Wentz was the answer, and us Carson Wentz haters, obviously we hated him because he was coming from the NFC East, built up a couple of years of hatred playing for the Philadelphia Eagles. But we kind of knew what he was outside his MVP season. People thought linking back with Frank Reich, he would get back to that, but he's kind of shown us other. And so just the Colts losing that game, to me, it was a big deal. Like, you don't want to overreact and say the Colts are done, they can't win a playoff game but it was, if he wasn't ready to go, if he wasn't good to go, like Frank Reich said, if you're good to go, you got to then when you're on that field, I need the best version of you. And so if you're not good to go, then don't play. I don't want COVID to be an excuse for underperforming, because if you don't think you're going to be able to give your A game, and everybody has bad games, but if you go out there, I had COVID, I don't know if I'm going to be good, your conditioning's not there, then you're better off not on the field. And Carson Wentz missed some throws yesterday. He got lucky with the T.Y. Hilton pass, right? Like, that T.Y. Hill touchdown was just kind of, he heaved it up, and Hilton happened to be right there. So it wasn't like it was an amazing play, an amazing throw by Carson Wentz, but he's had so much struggles that you're kind of concerned for a team like the Colts that are so good. They're almost put themselves in, they're a quarterback away. They're the Browns. They're a quarterback away from really being an elite team in Carson Wentz. And then he passed so they have to pay him. They're going to have to pay him his incentive money. He played majority of the snaps. They got to give up that first round pick because of that. So it really turned into a conditional first round pick. So they lose a little bit, and then they lose that game, and Carson Wentz doesn't play great. And so now it's like, are they going to be in a quarterback hunt? Are they going to feel like they're going to have to shake things up and really go after Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, or who knows what's going on with Aaron Rodgers? Or are they looking at drafting a quarterback in the guy that drops to the second round or something like that they could groom behind Carson Wentz for a year or two? So Carson Wentz has put them in a bad predicament by not being able to win that game against the Raiders, a depleted Raiders team, a Raiders team that shouldn't be focused on football with everything else going on. So the Colts losing to me was big time. That was a big time loss.
And I think the Colts are in if they beat Jacksonville. That's all they need is a win and they end.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
hey, we're just going. We're going on the assumption that that's going to happen, but we never know. You know?
We've seen stranger in the NFL.
Right.
That's true.
We've seen
But
very
it's
strange.
the same. So as long as the Colts win, they're in, and then the winner of, if that happens, the winner of the Chargers Raiders game, they take the 7th spot.
Yeah,
Okay.
and if they lose, then if Indy loses, you know, Chargers and the Raiders are getting in.
Ooh, if Indy, I know they said if Indy were to lose to Jacksonville, then the Raiders and the Chargers should just take knees the whole game, tie.
Yeah,
Just ride into the playoffs together. Like I know people were pitching that on Twitter.
Exactly. I mean, that's when I would call off the dogs. That's when I'll be putting in Marcus Mariota. It'd be senior night in Las Vegas for me.
If there is a way for Baltimore to get in, but that would involve Jacksonville beating Indianapolis.
It's 2% chance.
End it right there.
Yeah, it's like a 2% chance.
Jags, I don't even think it's that high. That's kind of high. Jags have what they did against the Patriots gives me they could have lost by 20 and I'd feel a little more confident. Like, oh, okay. Trevor Lawrence played horrible again. And they have zero chance. Their playmakers can't make plays. His receivers can't help him out when he does make beautiful throws that we expect from him. His receivers can't catch those kind of passes. You heard Thad say it multiple times. So, yeah, if I'm a team thinking that I need the Colts to lose the Jaguars, I'd be like, yeah, my season's over.
Yeah. Kenneth, your biggest loser this week?
I'm going another AFC team. I think it's got to be Baltimore. That football game was there to win yesterday. Like, they got the pick 6 on Stafford early. They led in first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and then you lose by a point. Like, yeah, you don't have Lamar in, but Huntley actually played pretty well. I think he's earned himself a shot at fighting for a starting job somewhere next year. But, I mean, the Ravens now, it's a 3% chance of getting in. They need Cleveland to lose one of their next 2 games, which I think we could almost lock that in. They need the Colts to lose. They need the Dolphins to lose to the Patriots. And then they need the Chargers to beat the Raiders, because then they would have the head-to-head over Indy and the Chargers. So that's the only way that they get into the playoffs. And yeah, like that game is there for you to win yesterday. That's what it boils down to. You picked off Stafford twice. You won the turnover battle overall, and you just couldn't close it. So I think the Ravens are big losers. Everyone will say, well, they were without Lamar, but that game was there that was there to win. So I got to go with the Ravens as my big losers.
Yeah, and you think to yourself, if those two, we kept on saying week in and week out, going for those 2-point conversions is going to bite them in the butt. And look at them now. You know, just be conservative, take it to overtime, and look what could have potentially happened if you would have split it. One of those games, you would have had a cushion, and you would have maybe a 15% chance, but that's better than 2 or 3 or whatever percent chance they got.
Yeah, now you're relying on a Jags team without a head coach to win you a football game over Indy that needs this game. And like, it's just it's absurd to me that we're even talking about the fact that the Ravens aren't going to be in the playoffs, because I think at the beginning of the year we looked at the Ravens as like, that's got to be like one of the locks in the AFC to make the playoffs this year. I know that their division's tough, but like,
injuries killed them though.
Come on, though.
But they was number 1 in the AFC.
This is also though where like, yeah, we can blame it on injuries, but as Coach said, like you were the one that shot yourselves in the foot with the 2-point conversions. Like you win one of those football games, you're still in the playoffs. Might even have Lamar back for the playoffs, and then it's we've seen in the AFC this year, everyone's beating everybody. You give yourself a shot in the playoffs, and I just think, they shot themselves in the foot. Like, we can blame it on injuries, but every team said injuries. Every team said COVID. Like, they made some mistakes down the stretch, and I think it's come back to bite them.
Right, because like you were saying, Kenneth, because you think about it, about a month ago, they were number 1 in the AFC. So, and we kept on like, oh, we should give Harbaugh like the coach of the year because of the job that he's done. But, as far as the injuries, especially, the running back, he lost those running backs early, and they were really, and then even after that, you look at situations like versus Kansas City, that run game, obviously Lamar had like over 100 yards rushing, but like you said, you know, those opportunities, man, you can't piss them away, man. Like you look at now the difference. And that's just gonna be one of the things in the offseason that you're gonna really, you really think to yourself, like, damn, we really put ourselves in a bad predicament.
I want to give flowers to one player on the Ravens this year, which is Mark
Mhm.
Andrews, because he
Yeah.
broke their single season receiving yard record, which is pretty impressive for a tight end to do that in the NFL. So shout out to him for actually getting that done. He's played phenomenal over the last month. Like he's done a great job of having them fight for that spot, but it looks like they're going to come up short. Like unless we're in for a wild Sunday, then I think we're not expecting them to be in the playoffs.
Yeah. Rob, your biggest loser this week.
So don't come after me. I'm going strictly just off of a big picture sort of outlook here. I'm going to say the Dallas Cowboys because
you.
you look at the teams that they've beat up on. Washington twice, the Giants, the Eagles. The Patriots was a close game. We look at the teams, the few amount of losses you guys have had are all to playoff teams. Dallas or Tampa in week 1. Kansas City, Vegas, he's right on the brink, lost to them in overtime, and then obviously Arizona. It just seems like, and Mo, you even touched on it earlier, or I think it was before we went on, that it seems like the same thing every single year. This is even back with Tony Romo. For whatever reason, Dallas just feels like you guys can't win the big games. You guys beat up on the little guys. You guys beat up on, as Walker likes to call it, the poverty teams. But when it comes to actual legit competition, teams like the Bucks, teams like the Cardinals, who you guys might have to face again, whether that's a good or a bad thing, it just, for whatever reason, it just, you guys can't get it done. And I wouldn't say that scares me. That makes me very happy. But just the fact that, again, having to play all the teams that you've just lost to this season, even when Dallas was looking like the best defense in the league with Micah Parsons beating up on Taylor Heineke, 2 out of the 3 weeks on 4 days of rest after you guys got back-to-back 10 days off.
Oh, God.
When you go off of these good teams, it's a whole different ball game. It doesn't look good right now.
And you know who it's on though. To your point, I don't disagree with you. I'm not mad at you, but it goes on our offense. Like it's because our defense shows up. They showed up yesterday. You fight and fight and fight. Eventually, you give up the big play because you need help. When you play well defensively, you need a little bit of help offensively. Vice versa. When your offense plays really well, you need defense to at least make us stop. Like, don't make us win this game. Eventually, we're going to not score a touchdown, or we're not going to prevent a touchdown. And you saw that the offense, once again, did it late. Like, it was like it almost didn't matter when they started getting their stuff together. Like, had you come out the way the defense played in the beginning, Cardinals scored a touchdown and then couldn't really do much. Like, it took them a while to get going as well. So it's like, it's the crazy thing now is that we're riding on the backs of our defense. When's the last year Dallas has done that? Like, when's the last year you looked at Dallas and said they're a defensive team and all the weapons they have on offense, they're falling short offensively? Like, to me, that's a problem because Dallas hasn't been a defensive team for years, as far as really saying they're winning games based on their defense. So it is a problem. And as of right now, it still is an indictment on Dak Prescott. Like, it's another loss in the record against playoff teams for people to pitch that about Dak as well. So, and it comes to where guys like Gabe and a lot of other people feel confident in the fact that Dallas is going to be one and done. As well as they've played throughout the season, they feel very confident, one and done. And it's like, what if they showed you to feel real confident about them even having to play Arizona and win again, especially when the other stat on the other side is Kyler Murray ain't ever lost in Jerry's world. From high school to college to the NFL, he ain't ever lost when he's played in that stadium. So it's almost like Kyler Murray owns the state of Texas at this point, and there's 2 quarterbacks that own Texas in the playoffs, and that's Aaron Rodgers and Kyler Murray. So that's another scary thing is we might have to see them back to back. If we get lucky to give Kyler Murray his first loss, we got to go see the man, but we got to see the man who runs, the Dallas Cowboys organization in Lambeau. Like, and that's something that I wish we would have won that game yesterday, so we wouldn't have to think about going to play at the frozen tundra prior to the NFC Championship if we had a shot at getting there.
I'm also not mad about it because I got it from my brother-in-law yesterday anyways. So like I've already heard all this of like, who have y'all beat? And it's like, nobody. Like, I don't want to talk to you right now. But I think the issue is that like Dallas is just like we've even seen it when they've played bad teams. Like, no offense, Washington, the first matchup, they go out, they're up 24-0, and then they almost piss the game away. Like, so that's what's concerning heading into the playoffs is that like we're either doing it way too late or we do it early and then we're not doing it late. So like Dallas needs to figure out how to put 4 quarters together. Probably this week against Philly would be a good start. So that way you can head into playoffs with some confidence that your offense can play 4 quarters. And so that's what I think it boils down to. They get comfortable, it seems, at times, and they just start like, oh, whatever, we punt. And then it's like, okay, well, that team's catching up now. And it's like, oh, we got to get our shit together. Like, yeah, no shit, you have to. Like, it's 4 quarters. And they just don't seem to do it.
It's almost like, and it's like this, just real quick, this goes back to like in high school, we had when I played for one of the teams, it was like, you feel entitled because you're wearing Clearwater across your chest. Like, it's almost like, but you haven't won nothing. And it's like Dallas does that. Like, you come in with your chest held high, pumped up. You got one of the GMs with, one of the richest GMs or whatever. So you feel like you done won the game before you even take a step on the field because Cowboys is across your chest. And then you allow the rest of the world to be like, y'all better humble yourselves. Y'all ain't done nothing to get the kind of respect of how they carry themselves. And that's on the field, starting off slow, like almost like this, oh, we'll get going eventually and then we'll win. Or starting off fast and then letting your foot off the gas because like, oh, we're just the better team. We've proven this. These aren't other professionals that want to beat us bad and beat America's team, whether you want them to be or not. Like they get like complacent in a time where they haven't earned the right to be that. Like if the Bucks did it with Tom Brady coming off a Super Bowl, like you give them that. If Aaron Rodgers and the Packers do it at times, like Aaron Rodgers has proven that he can win the big games, win a Super Bowl, get to multiple NFC championships. Like he's earned where you understand that. Where Dallas has a whole bunch of guys that haven't won nothing, but still carry themselves like they're coming off Super Bowl hangovers or they know that they have a track record of winning the big games when they really don't. So it pisses me off. It baffles me. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
It's like they treated the game last week like, oh, we don't have to prep for Arizona. Like we're rolling. And it's like, well, there's a big difference in skill level between those two teams right now. Like you have to show up every single week. It doesn't matter who your opponent is, and
this is the NFL.
They're just hanging their hat on a big division win that turned into a blowout, and then it's like, well, now you face like a team that you could face in the playoffs, and you could have avoided them if you took care of business yesterday. You would have been in a great spot to just go out, beat Philly, potentially move up a spot or two. And then you get that favorable matchup of a rookie, of a Taysom Hill, of a Jalen Hurts compared to a Kyler Murray.
Yeah. My biggest loser, it's not even on the field anymore. It's just to a point where there are so much things that happen with this team that goes beyond the football field. You have a TikTok star that dances on a tribute. You got a botched, memorial ceremony. And Rob, it's funny, I didn't talk about this yesterday, and it dawned on me. You know how some things just dawn on you? Ryan Kerrigan came back yesterday. The Washington football team is the biggest loser. You have by far maybe the only guy who may go to Canton from this football team, potentially. If they did nothing for him yesterday. Nothing. No tribute, no nothing. A. Why in the hell did that rail fall?
Because, because when you have 6 grown ass men, that's damn near
exactly.
over 1,000 pounds.
That's true. But still, that's
just
one of the things.
Something that if it ain't one
from
thing,
the optics wise,
but you're right.
Because I can say, oh, they just a bunch of fat dudes that's just going on. But optic wise, that does not look good. That does
especially
not
if Hurts would have gotten hurt. Like if he would have gotten seriously hurt, broken the ankle, torn his ACL, something,
and then
it would have been
right.
It would have been a lawsuit.
He was seconds away from that. If he wouldn't have, he was seconds away from that potentially happen where he had 6 guys falling on his knee or in the parts of his body. So this is just another thing where this team is just taking so many PR losses week in and week out. It's just to a point where it's embarrassing. It's almost like it's funny. Like the game wasn't too bad, like, but everything, the antics, and then the whole thing about the Ryan Kerrigan, and it didn't dawn on me yesterday, but when I sat and thought about it today, and I was like, Ryan Kerrigan came back, and there was nothing for him. Like he probably gonna be a Washington football team Ring of Honor potentially, a guy that could potentially see him coming back down the line and being honored. But he should have been honored in that case, especially when we're trying to do these so-called mea culpas as of late to try to kind of ease these, as far as to help the organization look good. And it's like we just continue to take L's week in and week out. And ain't even on the football field. It's stuff outside the football field. And I think this one took the cake.
Yeah, there's a way to close out a bad PR season, huh? When y'all and the Raiders, I don't know who had it worse this year. That's why I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, the Raiders started because
the Raiders are fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah, the Raiders started because of us.
I'm saying from a PR standpoint, I don't know.
But honestly, let's keep it a buck. As a lot of stuff is similar. We've had some. Yeah. We in this case, there was casualties in both of these organizations that was related to something. So yes,
close.
We didn't get our coach ain't gone, but I mean, other than that, I mean, it's
coach is going to conversation with people.
Yeah, exactly. We like we said, like Rob said, we are the reason why John Gruden is not the head coach of the Raiders.
Yeah, so
it's like we started the fire, and hey, let's bring some more logs to the fire.
Yeah.
It's just week in and week out, man. But I'm, like I said, Cancun on 3. I'm excited. So before we get into
great place to be, Cancun. Who wouldn't love to be in Cancun? We'll see y'all a week later. Like
I would love to be in February.
I know that's what we thought eventually.
We'll see
once upon a time, but
we'll see a week later.
So definitely, before we get into our biggest overreaction for Week 17, definitely got to give a huge shout out to the good folks at BetUS. Head over to BetUS, use our promo code OffTheBall, where you'll receive a 125% sign up bonus. So do the math. You put up 100, they're gonna give you 125. So head over there. So head over there to betus.com. Use our promo code OffTheBall. Now, if you do off the ball, put in all caps. Head over there and they'll take care of you. So definitely appreciate the good folks at BetUS. So, biggest overreaction. Mo, what you got?
Somebody's gonna hate me for this.
Uh-oh.
Matt Stafford was not the answer for the Los Angeles Rams.
Ooh.
And here's what I'm gonna say. Because was Jared Goff a bad contract? Yes, we can all agree on that. But you went to the playoffs with Jared Goff. You made it to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. You felt like you were a quarterback away from being a championship team. So you felt like you upgraded with Matt Stafford. Has he played very well at times this year? 100%. Is Cooper Kupp an all-pro wide receiver, the best wide receiver in the league this year? 100%. So all things point that is thank you and shout out to Matt Stafford. Even though Cooper Kupp was trending this way, does he have a record-breaking season? Probably not, because he doesn't have the gunslinger and Jared Goff that he'd have in Matt Stafford. But what did you get Matt Stafford for? To win a championship, right? And I'm not saying they had to win one this year, but that's what you got him for. If you get bounced in the first round, is that not already going into next season all pressure? If it wasn't, a lot of people have, Matt Stafford is one of the players with the most pressure coming into this year for the whole reason of you got all the stars, you got OBJ, you got Cooper Kupp, you got Aaron Donald, you got Jalen Ramsey, and Sean McVay finally got his quarterback. He went to meet Matt Stafford on vacation, and he finally got the guy that is the answer to him getting back to the Super Bowl and ultimately winning a championship. At this point, anything less than an NFC championship appearance is a failure for the Rams based on everything they told us about getting Matt Stafford. They're a lot better team now. They were already a playoff team. So when you upgrade a quarterback to a playoff team, typically their champion contenders. And with a team loaded like that, top players at their position, they got to make it to the conference championship at the very least and say like, okay, he got us there. We're missing this, maybe a little bit of tweak this, boom. We'll get there because you're going to play against possibly Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. Sometimes they're more experienced in the playoffs. They know what it takes. They know how to get it done. Bucks just came off a Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers knows what to do. They got some great veteran guys, Devontae Adams, who played in big games. So you might not be there yet. But I think, to me, to be honest, from what I've seen, is it hasn't done much for the Rams. They're really not any better than the best version of themselves that we saw when Todd Gurley was the MVP and Jared Goff was the quarterback of that team. And we could point to whatever, but Sony Michel has ran the ball well, which has helped. They haven't scored a lot of points. They put up 20 points on the injured Baltimore Ravens defense. They put up 20 points against the Seattle Seahawks. They put up 23 points against the Minnesota Vikings. Like, they didn't win games because of their gracious performances offensively. They've just won it just because they're a little more talented than the team across them. Like, they struggled with Seattle. They struggled with Minnesota. It came down late. I think they won by 10, but still, they had to make a play late. Obviously, Odell Beckham had to catch that touchdown pass for them to beat the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson-less and probably every starter dang near on defense injured, and you only score 20 points. That has to be a cause for concern. And then they have a quarterback who you can't trust. Everybody talks about Dak Prescott, but then still buys into the Los Angeles Rams. But they have a quarterback that's done what in the playoffs? Won one playoff game, couple playoff appearances throughout his career. We could give the excuse to he played for the Detroit Lions, valid excuse, but he also had a Hall of Fame wide receiver at one point, put up a lot of numbers. But I think the Rams are going to, after this season, they're going to look and be like, Rams fans are really going to feel like, did we make the right move? Like, if it was about getting off the contract, then cool, you made the right move. But is Matt Stafford going to take us to the promised land? Because if not, this is a win-now team that's going to have to start reevaluating the quarterback position. And when everyone told us, and I thought at one point, man, Stafford's a major upgrade. He's going to be the guy. He was a talent hidden in Detroit. And right now, it's not much of a difference unless you want to point that Cooper Kupp is having a record-breaking season. But like I said, he's been getting better every year. He was primed to hit this point at his career anyway because of hard work and stuff that he put in off season. So I just think we have to reevaluate how great of a trade this was for the Los Angeles Rams. And ultimately, it's going to come down to what they do in the playoffs. And we may be doing a lot of reevaluating on how we felt because of what they gave up. A couple draft picks and Jared Goff to get Matt Stafford. So I think when we've looked at the season and how the offense has played up and down and this and that, due to injury, Matt Stafford has played he's played every game. He's been there. He's been the constant. Cooper Kupp, I think, missed one. He hasn't missed a game either. I know Robert Woods went down there, replaced him with OBJ. The pressure's on Matt Stafford these next couple weeks to really prove that the deal was worth it because right now, to me, it doesn't look like it. Pick 6 yesterday. Throws another pick. Put them in every predicament to lose the game. Yeah, he had 200-something yards, almost 300 yards, but he put them in. He gave the Ravens every opportunity to win the game, and that's not the first time. We've seen that multiple times this year from Matt Stafford, even when they went on that losing streak, on that slump in the middle of the season. So, to me, I just think the Rams could regret really thinking and buying into the fact that Matt Stafford was their guy. Sorry, Steven.
Yeah. What you got, Kenneth?
You waited right until the end to slip that in for Steven.
Sorry,
That was
Steven,
great. It's kind of piggybacking off Mo's, but I think we're going to see multiple home teams in the NFC playoffs lose in Wild Card Weekend. I really do. Like, I look at what happened with the Bucks yesterday. Like, obviously the whole AB situation and everything, but they barely pulled it out against the Jets. We saw them a couple weeks ago put up 0 points against the Saints. If Carolina had any sort of offense, that would have been a game a couple weeks ago as well. I'm not liking what I'm seeing from the Bucks at all. And I know it's like, okay, well, it's Tom. So like Tom's going to show up for playoffs and, you know, you can never count him out. But I'm looking at some of these potential matchups for them. And I think it could get pretty ugly for them. Like if you get San Fran with that pass rush, I think they could cause some problems. And if they get the Saints again, I mean, Tom hasn't proven since he got to Tampa that he can beat them. So that's a bit concerning. The way that Dallas has looked. I mean, if they get the Cardinals again, like they beat us twice in 2 years. So I don't have a lot of faith in them getting it done, even at home in a playoff game. And Mo just alluded to the Rams. They haven't looked great the last number of weeks. So I think we got some hungry teams in that wild card positions right now that could upset a couple of these teams. And I really think that we're going to see a couple lose, a couple that we may not expect to lose. And that's my overreaction. Just the way that those three teams in particular have played as of late, nothing's impressed me about any of them. So I think a couple of these wildcard teams are going to upset opening weekend.
Who you got, Cruz?
I got two. Number one, if the Washington doesn't win at least 9 games next year, Ron Rivera could potentially be fired as head coach. We have a very we talked about it last night, Coach.
Yep.
We have one of the most not inconsistent. What's
Incompetent.
Incompetent too. That's for sure. But we have one of the most impatient owners, in the league, who moved on from an 8-8 Marty Schottenheimer, who finished the season. I believe that season was finished 5-2, something like that. To finish 8-8 in the season, and things look promising. So Washington doesn't win at least 9 games. Ron Rivera could be fired. He would definitely be on the hot seat. Number two, the Cincinnati Bengals. They're at worst 2 years away from being a legit Super Bowl contender. With what this team is doing with a terrible offensive line, I think Joe Burrow is the most sacked quarterback in the league, just slightly above Ryan Tannehill. So if they can just get him a little bit of offensive line help and then shore up that defense, I think at worst they're 2 years away from being a legitimate Super Bowl contender.
Yeah,
and they could this year. I'm not saying they win.
We're right. They could.
But we were not going to go on. I don't feel confident Bengals in the AFC Championship. Right. But we wouldn't be surprised because they can win games.
Right. The ball could bounce their way a couple times here.
Right.
They're bad matchups for anybody in the AFC, to be honest. They are bad matchups for anybody. So they got a running back who can run the ball. If they can open up them holes, they can play the slow down, march it down the field, take a while to score, and they also could get with you on points. If you can score 40, they can score 45. 2 years.
I mean, looking at where they're at right now, they would get Indy, which
exactly.
I'm taking Joe Burrow over Carson Wentz in the playoff game, and then they get Kansas City, who they just beat. So
and that's
the road to the AFC Championship as of right now doesn't look out of the question for Cincy. And I get what Cruz is saying. We're the offensive line, you get that, you shore up the defense, and Joe Burrow has been phenomenal, especially these last couple of weeks. I think they're going to run the division for a while, to be honest. I know that the Ravens went through injury issues this year, but I'm taking Burrow over Lamar right now.
They got the best quarterback.
Yeah, they have the best quarterback. That's what it boils down to. And then
he's the only one that's going to still be on their team in 3 years.
Yeah. And and that goes to my overreaction as well. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. They will win their first playoff game in 30 years. It's going to happen. This is it. I'm drinking their Kool-Aid because
But hold on, I gotta stop.
And Mo said that 2 weeks ago as well. So
but because when Kenneth even said who they right now, if it ended right now, who they would be playing,
the Colts.
They'd be playing one of the best defenses, one of the best front sevens in the league. Can that offensive line be able to hold up against that Colts front seven?
I think so.
Don't know.
I think so.
They've held up enough for Joe Burrow to have some games. It's I know he's been sacked a lot, but I think they can hold up enough that he can make play. He got guys that can make plays.
Right.
Jamar Chase, you put the ball in his hands 3 yards off the line of scrimmage, and he'll finish the rest. Saw it yesterday. Quick little 5-yard curl. He goes up and he takes it to the house. He doesn't need all the time in the world. Higgins, Boyd, and Chase get open
exactly,
which means he could get the ball out his hands quick. Which changes he might take the front seven out of the game. It's possible to take them out of the game, getting the ball.
Plus that is
going to double,
and
who you going to double, and who you going to double, and who you going to double. That's the thing. We talked about
tough spot.
Right.
I also think in a playoff game like that, I think if the Bengals clear 21 points, I think Indy's hard pressed to pass that. I really
Exactly.
do. Like, because I don't have faith in Wentz to go and make the plays that they need down the stretch. Like, I think they win 24-17 in a game like
And
that.
that
Right, and we're really more concerned about their defense, their offensive line. What about Cincinnati's defensive line against Carson Wentz?
Yeah.
That could pose as a threat. Trey, what we talked about
Carson
Trey
Wentz is the
Hendrickson for the last like
least sacked
3 weeks.
quarterback in the league.
Fifth
They
best
have
That's
the
rushing
true.
defense as far as yards go this year. Is what
Yeah, but
Cincy
still,
has.
but look at like a guy like a Trey Hendrickson. We said even in the show on Saturday, for the last 11 games, he's had at least half a sack. So he's gonna make a difference.
And then that secondary, if you think about it, the names on the secondary aren't great to you. But
Exactly.
Von Bell, Chidobe Awuzie, and then
Your boy.
ain't it crazy that
Y'all
Eli
boy.
Apple is
Y'all boy.
I don't know.
Isn't it crazy that Eli
Apple. Your boy, Mo. Buckeye.
You know, this my guy, like he was a former
Right.
Buckeye,
Yeah.
but he goes to Cincinnati, had no idea, nobody even cared when he signed to Cincinnati in the middle of the season, and this man has 3 picks already. This man is playing some pretty good defense. Chidobe Awuzie, former Cowboy, who we let go because he was going to be overpriced, is playing well. He's playing better than he was in Dallas, but he wasn't a bad corner in Dallas. You got Von Bell, a very good safety that became too expensive for New Orleans to keep, so he ended up going to Cincinnati. That secondary is the wrong secondary that Carson Wentz wants to face because they make you make mistakes. Eli Apple has gotten interceptions, I think, in 3 of his last 4 games. If I'm not mistaken, he had 2 straight games where he had a pick. But they make you make mistakes. And what do we know about Carson Wentz? He makes mistakes. We know that. We know he's bound to make a mistake. We know he's bound to throw an interception. And so Cincinnati come down and score the opening drive, and then Carson Wentz throws a pick, and they capitalize. That's a tough team, especially when you're talking about running the ball, wasting a lot of clock with Jonathan. That's a tough team to be down 14-0 for when you can't strike as fast. Like you need Jonathan Taylor to break deep, break a long run to strike just as quick. So that to me is a big difference. Is they have a secondary that causes you to make mistakes. The more time you give Carson Wentz in the pocket, the more likely he is to make a mistake. You want him to get the ball out quick instead of trying to see things open because he doesn't do that well. So even I think the Bengals not being able to apply the most pressure with that great offensive line could actually hurt Carson Wentz because that secondary doesn't give up a lot of big plays. They know how to turn the ball over. So that could be, I think they're a bad matchup for the Colts. But if Jonathan Taylor gets going, we all know the Colts are one of the toughest teams to stop as well. So,
absolutely.
Yep.
So let's put a bow on this week's Overreaction Monday. I'm just going around the horn. Social media, upcoming projects. What you guys got?
Yeah, you can follow me at Mo_Cheese15 on Twitter, Instagram, at Upper Flames Pod on Twitter, Instagram. And we just launched our Twitter page. Me and Stu plan on launching the first show this week. Anybody's more than welcome. Any of you football guys, especially Rob, Coach, we'll try and coordinate a time together if everybody can make it. Kenneth, I know you're not as interested in the NFL draft, though. So, you're always more than welcome.
It was just funny to do that.
Yeah, so we just launched we're going to launch our show, Draft Capital NFL. Shout out to Steven and Chris for basically giving us the Draft Capital name and letting it be the NFL version. But we're going to launch that. We're going to hit even harder than we did last year into draft content. Y'all know we did multiple mock drafts, talked about all the quarterbacks and everything like that, had a lot of fun. So we finally have a platform officially for that, solely for that. So we're going to make that happen. So definitely glad this Stu came along as a co-host, but all y'all faces are going to be on there at some point, mock drafts, whatever we do. That's been the NFL draft has always been a network thing. So I'm excited to be able to jumpstart and get that going.
All right. Kenneth.
Can't wait to mock draft a Cowboys wide receiver because that's what Jerry would do.
Wow.
I take Olave.
No, you can follow me on all social platforms at shooters_pod. We got a lot of stuff going on. Recorded a great episode yesterday with Francis Carlota over at the network, so go and check that out. We also just launched the Off the Ball Network Substack account. That's where we're going to have all of our articles now, whether it's NFL draft, NBA, NFL, whatever it is, it's going to be over there. We're also going to be launching tomorrow our daily thread for betting as well. So everyone can go in and comment, talk about bets and all that stuff that they've got going on, and use that BetUS promo code Off the Ball in all caps when you do. So, Coach, thanks again for having me on, man. You always do such a great job on Overreaction Monday.
No problem, man. No problem. Rob, what you got?
Y'all already know where you can find me. FNC Pod on Twitter, Football and Chill Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. This Wednesday in 2 days. Gonna be on Cruise Island talking about something that's gonna ruffle a lot of feathers. I'm gonna be talking about why the R word needs to die. The former Washington football team name needs to just die already and needs to be erased from history and people stop saying it. But I'm gonna do that. And then a little preview of week 18 heading into the playoffs. If you're into gaming, I will be on Twitch later on tonight, probably in about an hour and a half on Twitch, twitch.tv/football and chill gaming, running a little bit of Warzone. If you're interested in that, go tune into that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, under CouchCoach Live, anywhere, social media, we're there. And also check out the podcast anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, we're there as well. And then check out the YouTube page and check out all the fellas here on Off the Ball Network. And once again, another Overreaction Mondays in the books. Week 17 is pretty much done. We got one more game, obviously, with the Browns and the Steelers. But yeah, so looking forward to week 18 and a bow on this season's Overreaction Monday next Monday. So once again, appreciate you fellas for coming on. And man, we'll catch you guys next week. And we're out.